my name's Neil Bendle. I'm Associate Professor of Marketing at the Ivey Business School in Canada. Today I just want to talk about a problem about what should marketers be thinking about when they're making a decision. So we're going to cover things called relevant, irrelevant, sunk costs. Make sure you understand these ideas. These ideas are pretty general in the decision-making literature, but they're also very, very practically important. So it's really quite vital to know them. So let's think, so what's a relevant cost? Well, a relevant cost is pretty much what you might think it is. It's something that matters to the decision at hand. So one of the problems with decision making is any number of things you could be thinking about. There's any number of things going on in the world. Some of them seem obviously not related, but sometimes it's not as obvious what's related and what isn't. So you need to decide what's relevant to the decision. And essentially, for a marketer, this is often, what can you impact? Sort of thing. So one of the easiest things to do is think, well, what can't you impact? What's irrelevant? And these relevant costs shouldn't be taken into account. So these are things that are not going to change with your decision at hand. So you might be planning an exciting new marketing campaign. Well, pretty much whatever you do, the cost to your head office is pretty much going to be there. So it's possible in some sort of accounting statement you might get some sort of charge from the head office or something like that, whatever. Different accounting systems do things differently. The important thing is there's nothing that you, or there's especially nothing you taking this individual decision about the current advertising or marketing campaign can do to change the head office costs. It is what it is. So the point is, you don't need to worry about that. It's not going to change. It's not relevant to the decision at hand. So basically, care only about things that are going to change with the decision at hand. So there's a particular type of sunk irrelevant costs that we probably should highlight. This is the idea of a sunk cost. And it's just sunk because money's already gone. So think of it, the sort of classic is, when we're talking about sunk costs, thinking about sort of things you've already spent. You spent that money, it's gone. You might have spent a lot of money on research and development coming up with an idea. That doesn't make it a good idea. It might be a good idea, and fantastically it is, but it's not the amount of money you spent on it that makes it a good idea. It's the idea itself. So, an idea that you came up with in the bath is not less valuable than an idea you spent billions coming up with. Hopefully, actually, the one you spent a lot on is probably a better idea. But if it was the same idea, it wouldn't matter how you got there. So kind of, if a cost has been sunk, i.e. the money's gone, it shouldn't matter going forward. Sometimes it's not always 100% clear what is sunk and what isn't, and that could be a matter of some debate. But generally speaking, you dig into it and you kind of say, well, are we going to get this money back? If we cancelled the project now, would we get any money back? And if the answer is no, well, then that money's sunk. Often it's complicated in organizations, so sometimes people cling to ideas because they want to save face. And this might make sense for the manager who's clinging to the idea because they want to, they don't want to be seen to have made a mistake in the past. But it's not necessarily going to make a good idea for the firm. That money, if money has been wasted in the past, it's been wasted, it's gone. Don't keep worrying about it. The classic sort of saying is, there's no point crying over spilled milk. If something's sunk, it's gone. Stop thinking. If anyone's of a sort of more slightly academic or maybe even just sporting bent, you might want to sort of read about this. There's some interesting work on playing time in the NBA, and this is pretty much all I know about the NBA, but it's how draft order affects playing time. And some of this is a little controversial with some of the math. It's really kind of hard to do the math perfect on these sort of things. But if you want to just get the insight is basically that, when someone gets drafted earlier, people have made more investment in them. They tend to be allowed to play more and given more opportunities. Now, the idea, you might think, well, someone's better if they're drafted earlier, but they try and control for that with the math. That's where the math is tricky. But the idea basically is that if people have invested a lot in the past, we see people doing this. We see people what's known as experiencing sunk cost bias. They basically carry on with something despite the fact it's not actually a great idea. And the reason why they carry on is because they've done it a lot in the past. Sunk cost bias, you can kind of look at it pretty much everywhere. A lot of times it's in discussions of business. If I'm kind of sort of basic about, well, I'll mention my cartoon book where I've got some cartoons on this. But the idea we want to get to is this idea of customer value, where this might matter, this sunk cost might matter, customer value. And what you pay to acquire a customer isn't really relevant going forward. Just because you spent a lot to acquire that customer doesn't mean they're a good customer. Just because you didn't spend anything to acquire that customer doesn't mean they're a bad customer. They are what they are. New product development costs that have been still to be spent are relevant. Those that have been sunk are not. So just because you've spent a lot on it going forward doesn't make it a good product. And similarly, in pricing, what you spent in the past is not relevant to what you can sell it for. So this is particularly true for people trying to sell houses. Perhaps if you bought the house at the top of the bubble, the fact that you bought it at the top of the bubble doesn't mean anyone's going to pay you that money. Similarly, if you're lucky enough to buy it at a low point, the fact that you didn't spend much on it doesn't really affect the fact that it's quite valuable now. So it's just worth bearing in mind this general idea of worrying and trying to avoid the idea of sunk costs bias. Basically, try not to worry about what's already gone behind. Anyhow, so that's great. So I hope that was helpful. Whenever you see some sort of marketing metrics, whether costs involved, kind of think, are the costs that we're discussing relevant or are they irrelevant? And obviously, if they're irrelevant, try not to include them in your discussions. Thanks very much.